Hi everyone, welcome to our Did You Know Policy Edition. I'm here with Jaclyn Chamberlain, who oversees our trauma-informed initiatives. It's election week. How do we care for ourselves during this time?
I think it's important to acknowledge that it's a rough week. Election week is obviously stressful, and especially for some folks more than others, it can be a very, very stressful experience. There has been noise about the election, politics forever, but particularly heated over the last several months, right? So I think it's important to acknowledge that it means you might be dysregulated, what's happening inside your own body. And it's so easy to get disconnected from that. And so I think it's important to know when you're being charged. If you're noticing the news is on or the radio, or you're in a certain room and people are talking about it and you can feel it in your body, that's a good sign to take a break, to unplug in any way that you need to unplug in order to allow yourself to come back to regulation. And I think there are many ways that people can do that. Food, taking a walk, all of those things are really valuable ways to unplug. But I think that's the most important thing, is just acknowledging that it's impacting you. There's a term that we learned from some mental health professionals in the trauma-informed work that we do called relational contagion. And what that means is our nervous systems impact one another. So if I'm very dysregulated, you can feel that, and that can impact how you feel too. Being mindful of what's happening in our own bodies so that we're not contributing to that dysregulation of others. There is a mental health professional who we've had the honor of working with in Arizona. His name is Reverend Sanghum Yu. He does a lot of work in trauma-informed all across Arizona. But one of the things he taught me was a dysregulated brain cannot regulate another dysregulated brain. Take a break, do what you need to do to bring yourself back into regulation. But there are ways that working with others can help you do that too.
For the last couple months, we've all been getting the text messages, flooding our social media. So how do we navigate the endless barrage of messaging?
That is a good question. Yes, because it is very activating sometimes when you're getting so many of them. I think that going back to that importance of deplugging, we may not always be able to control what's going around us, but we do have the opportunity to control how we choose to disengage. So taking a few moments every day to unplug, even and especially if you're very involved in this election or very invested in the outcome and it means a lot to you or your community, taking the time to just unplug and really connect to the humans around you is so important, because it's easy for that to get lost in all of the messaging and the sense of urgency that a lot of the messaging has. And the urgency is there, and again, because for so many that there is high stakes, whether it's local, federal, whatever it may be. We know that the outcome matters to a lot of folks, but we also know the humanness of us is been there and will always be there. So really connecting to that is really important. And I think some of the things we talk about with food, for example, is just the value of sharing a meal. We forget how regulating that is, just to spend time, and how sharing a good meal with others can be so powerful. So if you have the time and resources and it's available to you, sit with a loved one, your family, a friend, a pet, whatever you need. Just sit and take a moment to enjoy that meal. Take your phone off, unplug the TV, whatever you need to do to really make some intentional peace, because it's so dysregulating all around us that having those few moments can help reset us a little bit and ground us. There is a lot of research, and it's also, you may just know from your own human experience, caring for others is also something you can do. The messaging is going to give you this sense of urgency that you should panic, right? But caring for other people, again, is where the magic is. It's where the healing is. So taking time to bring food to another person, volunteering at a kitchen or a congregate meal site or whatever it may be, even just sharing food with somebody around you can be a really powerful experience too.
During divisive times like these, sometimes elections bring up a lot of disagreements. How do we delight in difference?
I love the term delight in difference. Of course, we would love that, right, as a goal. Practicing that in reality is really hard, particularly around things as hard as this in politics and all the different experiences and lived experiences and lenses we all bring to this conversation, and it can get real messy. I can say personally, in my own family, there has been ruptures in relationships over these issues. So, I wish I had a beautiful magic wand that says, just delight in this. But I think the reality is for a lot of folks, it's critical, right? It's not something that they can delight in. The difference for them has a lot of meaning. It's also easy to get lost in the sauce, so to speak, and forget, just get so dysregulated you're not necessarily connected to, again, what really matters, which is the humans around you. So I would say the answer may not be as much delighting in it. We know that regardless of what happens on November 5th, we're gonna wake up on November 6th and keep on working, right? And there's so many people around us who have been working so hard for so long, so many communities that have been working so hard for centuries, and that work doesn't stop. And there's gonna be hardships no matter what, right? So I think the way to delight is to remember that it's the human beings, the power, where the power lies. The power is in community, the power is in each other and the connection to each other. We've done focus groups all over the state of Arizona in so many different groups, backgrounds, communities, different experiences. And one thing that comes through in those, no matter who they are, is just a deep desire to feel a sense of connection. Isolation is rough, and I think that's what this does to us, is it also fractures us. So however you need as a person, right? We're all gonna have our own personal boundaries. They're important for our own well-being, but whatever you can do within those to really connect to the humans around you, I think is the best way. You can delight in this, and also how we're gonna weather whatever comes our way.
With our trauma-informed work, is there anything else that you wanted to share about how it, I guess, correlates with the election?
I think at the end of the day, we're all human beings with nervous systems. So I think stress, whether you've had hardship in the past or not, living in this sort of divisive times can be very, very stressful on our nervous system, and it's easy to get stuck. So I think the only thing I would add, and again, this is just advice that's been shared with me as somebody who works with food in this world, is that whatever you're feeling is a normal reaction to this. The power you hold in finding joy in the little things around you is so critical. So I think that's the one thing I would offer, is there's gonna be loss, right? No matter what. There's no such thing as like a perfect situation. We don't live in it. So don't let that rob you of where you can find joy, whether it is in that meal, a walk. The importance of stopping to recognize that is so critical for your nervous system and your own humanity.